Hello friends, today we're going to study about the bones of forelimb. In the bones of forelimb, we'll first study about the scapula, then humerus, then radius ulna and further on. So first bone today is the scapula. Scapula is the bone of forelimb. This is a flat and triangular bone. It is sword-like bone, which is sword is known as also talwar, as you know in the Hindi. So it's look like this. So so this is known as this sword-like structure. This is divided into two parts, supra and infra. So if this is the triangular bone of that, then this process is known as there is a in between this there is a spinous process is present, and the upper part is known as the supraspinous process, whereas the lower part is known as the infraspinous process. So in there are different ratios present in different animal. In cattle, the supra ratio and infra ratio is shows by the 1:3, whereas in the dog this ratio is converted by the 1:1, and the both supra ratio and infra ratio is equal. But in the pig, as we can see, it is present in the 1:8. So in pig, the this and this is this supraspinous process is just one, but in comparative to that it is present in it, so it is much wider than that upper part. So the foramen trioceum is present in scapula and fowl, at which humerus, clavicle and coracoid get attached. So foramen trioceum is present, and with these all like humerus, clavicle and coracoid get attached. Now acromion process is absent in the horse. As we know, it is very important point from exam of point of view, and in general also, that the acromion process is absent in the horses. So let me first study about this diagram, so you can get the where these body organs are located. So this is the diagram of our scapula. This is the spinous process present in the mid of the scapula. This is the supraspinous process, and this is infraspinous process. This is the prescapular cartilage, which is present here. This is the acromion process, which is absent in horse. This is the tubular spinous process, and it is coracoid process. Let me make it out clear. This is acromion process. This is tubular process, and this process is known as the coracoid process, which is absent in dog, and it is the glenoid notch, which is absent in the pig scapula. So an acromion absent in the horse, and the coracoid process is absent in the dog. So next we come next to this point. Let us study humerus. Humerus is longest, largest bone in the forelimb, as we studied earlier. This is the bone of our humerus, and this is now, let me make it out mention. Yes, this is the head of humerus. This is the head of humerus. This is known as the neck of humerus. This is radial fossa, which is also known as the coronoid fossa. This is olecranon fossa. This is epicondyle, and this is condyle. This is known as tronchlea. This is nutrient foramen, in which the blood vessel and nerve supplies are present. This is deltoid tuberosity, and this is known as the lateral tuberosity. In bones, for the blood vessels and nerve supply, nutrient foramen is present, which provide nutrition. It's a foramen, or it's a hollow cavity in which the blood vessels and nerves are present, and they provide the nutrition to the bone. Note, there is a note that in dog and pig, the radial fossa plus olecranon fossa form the supratrochlear fossa. And there is also one note that the pneumatic foramen is present in the fowl and the horse. As I said you earlier, the ear sacs are present in the fowl bones, because they needed the lightest bone. So the ear sacs are present in between them, so they can easily fly. So pneumatic foramen is present in fowl humerus. Another part was radius ulna. Radius ulna is divided in radius ulna. This is known as the olecranon process. This is semilunar notch. This is radial coronoid process. This is radius. This is ulna. These two bones are present, and these are actually fused bones. There is very much space is present between these. So This is the radius and this ulna. It is distal interosseous space and it is styloid process. Styloid process is absent in the ulna of horse, and by the olecranon process point of elbow is formed, and in horse the styloid process is absent, as I said you earlier. This is our radius and ulna. This is our radius and ulna, and these are the metacarpals. So there the 2-3 metacarpals are present. This is radius and this is ulna. Let me come to the next part of this chapter. Carpal. Carpal is divided into two parts. First one was proximal column and second one was distal column. This is divided into two parts where the proximal column was radial appendicular structure. Africa map structure. The first one proximal part contains radial, intermediate and ulnar and accessory. It divided into four parts. So radial is basically shaped like Africa map. So it is known as the Africa map like structure. Second one was intermediate, which is cycle like structure. Third one was ulnar and fourth one was accessory. Second part was distal, divided into 4 plus 2 plus 3 fused carpal. So this is divided into 2, 4 plus 2 plus 3 carpals in the column. So cattle have 6, dog and have horse have 7, pig have 8, fowl have 2, radian and ulnar. Knee joint is smaller and shin bones are known as carpals. In fowl, this is the radius, ulna, and these are the carpals, and this is metacarpal, and this joint is known as the carpometacarpal joint, and this is known as carpometacarpal and fowl. So now come to the next part, which is metacarpal. In cattle is divided into two parts, large metacarpal and small metacarpal. So large metacarpal are formed by the 3 and 4 metacarpal, and it is also known as the cannon bone. Whereas the one small metacarpal is formed by the 5th metacarpal, and in the horses it is divided into one large metacarpal and two small metacarpal. So one large metacarpal are 3 metacarpals, and the second metacarpal, small metacarpal, is known as the splint bone or second and fourth metacarpals. The dog have 5 in number, pig have 4 in number, and the fowl have 3 in number. In fowl, the distant carpal attached to the fused with the metacarpal, so it form the carpometacarpal. These are the carpals. These are the form the large metacarpal. This is form the small metacarpal. These are metacarpal, and these are digits which is present 5 in number. So last one part was phalanges. Phalanges are in cattle and digit. They are 3 and 4, where the vestigial are 2 and 5, which is present in the dew claws. For example, this is the horn like look like. So in this there the second and fifth are present, and it is known as the dew claw, and this is the cattle's digit which have third and fourth part. These are vestigial, these are residual, not properly or developed or used. For second part was that the horse has and the first digit is known as chestnut, and the second and fourth digit is the ergot. This is metacarpal, this is phalanges, this is proximal sesamoid, this is distal sesamoid, and these are the first and second and third phalanges. And in a phalanges, in a limb, there are 2 digits are present. Each digits have 3 phalanges, where each digit have 3 sesamoid bones are found. For one digit sesamoid, they are divided into 2 parts, the proximal in metacarpal and distal in navicular bone. So the present in metacarpal between the first phalanx, these are 2 in number, and it is fetlock form the fetlock joint, where the distal navicular bone, which is this, the lowermost part, which forms second and third phalanx, and these are 1 in number, and it forms the coffin joint. Cattle have 2 digits, 3 and 4, vestigial are 2 and 5, which form dew claws. Each digit have 3 phalanges are present. Each digit have 3 sesamoid bones. Sesamoid bones are divided into 2 parts. First one was distal sesamoid, and second one was proximal sesamoid. Proximal sesamoid form the fetlock joint, metacarpal joint between first phalanges, and second distal sesamoid form the second and third phalanges, which form the coffin joints. Distal sesamoid is called the navicular, and the phalanges in the horse are, these are metacarpal, these are digits. digits are 1 in number, phalanges are 3 and the sesamoids are 3. In dog the digits are 5, phalanges are 14 and sesamoids are 14. But in poultry the digits are 3, phalanges are 5, sesamoids are 0 and absent are the digits of poultry, and the total sesamoids are 2, which is known as the patella. Now in lecture we're gonna study about the bones of hind leg. So okay, thank you, bye. So friends, today we're going to study about the bones of hind limb. There are 9 bones present on the hind limb. First one was hip bone, femur, tibia, fibula, patella, tarsal, metatarsal, first phalanx, second phalanges and third phalanges. So the first between the hip bone and femur, hip bone is also known as the hip joint. These all combine and form the stifle joint, where the tarsal and metatarsal form hock joint. Between metatarsal and phalanges it forms the fetlock joint, whereas between the first and second phalanges it forms the pastern, and between second and third it forms the coffin. So first we're gonna study about the hip bone or os coxae or pelvic girdle. So it is formed by the 3 bones, ilium, ischium and pubis. And ilium is actually, let me make it clear, ilium, if I was coming then it is into the pelvic girdle, but if this spelling is spelled like this, ILEUM, then it is come of the part of digestive system. So here's we go, ilium, ischium and pubis. Pubis is attached by the cartilage and attached by the acetabulum, and it is the cotyloid cavity at which head of the femur is attached and form the hip joint. So this is the ischial tuberosity. These are the tuberosity arises, as you can see. So these are the tuberosity here the present, which is known as the ischial tuberosity, or we can also consider it as a pin bone. This part is known as ilium, this is ischium and this is pubis, and this is there is a presence of foramen which is known as obturator foramen. This is acetabulum cavity or cotyloid cavity, and this is ventral tubercle. And now we study about this. This is the external angle which is known as tuber coxae, which is known as the hook bone or point of hip, because it's in the point and it is just the horizon point and it is extended. So it is known as the tuber coxae, hook bone or point of hip. It is very important. Now we comes to the obturator foramen. It is a foramen and it is body's largest foramen or hole, and it is formed by the ischium and pubis. So here the obturator foramen is present. It is the let me mark it out. This foramen is the largest foramen in the body, and we can say foramen or hole. So it is formed by the ischium and pubis. In cow and buffalo it is oval shape, but in the dog it is triangular in shape. So there is a note that the skull largest foramen of the magnum, and there is a note that the skull in skull the largest foramen is known as a foramen of magnum, but when we talk about the respect of all over the body, the largest foramen is the foramen of obturator foramen. Well, while external angle ilium and tubercle or hook bone or point of hip, this one will internal angle is attached to the sacrum and iliosacral joint. So foul between ilium and ischium in a hole presence is called ilioischial foramen. So the foramen present between the ilium and ischium hole is known as the ilioischial foramen. It is we can connect by the words that the ilium is come from the ilio and the ischium is ischial. So ilioischium foramen is considered. Now we come to the femur. Femur, it is the longest, largest, heaviest and strongest bone of the body. It is also called round bone because it is approximately round in shape. This is fovea capitis. This is head of the bone. This is neck. This is the iron mirror, trochlear minor. This is nutrient foramen. These are the blood vessels and nerve supply, in which the nutrient foramen, it is a foramen, it is a hollow foramen in which the nerve supply is get. And this is the trochlea, this is condyle, this is epicondyle, this is supracondylar fossa, and this is known as the trochanter major. This is trochanter minor and that was trochanter major. Note that the third trochanter found in the femur. The third trochanter is found in the femur. Fibula, it is a dog femur at condyle region, backside it is present. Now we come to the patella. It is the largest sesamoid bone in the body. It is irregular in the shape, therefore it is known as the sesamoid bone. It is present at the stifle joint. In cattle, stifle joint is joint formed by this. This is the stifle joint, in which in the upper part this is the femur, this is our patella, and this is metatarsal, tibia fibula, sorry. So it is a sesamoid bone. It is present by the cattle, fowl, triangular in shape, and in horses it is square in the shape. So patella in the horses is square in shape, and in the fowl it is triangular in the shape. Now it comes to the tibia fibula. Tibia fibula is a rudimentary bone in the cattle. It is not actually well developed, and it is only well developed in the dog. The distal end of the fibula is attached by the tibia called external malleolus, and this is the fibula, this is tibia, and this is our tibiotarsal and tibio-metatarsal joints. So about the tibiotarsal joint, longest bone of the fowl. In the fowl, the longest bone is known as the tibiotarsal. In fowl, forelimb are attached to the tarsal, in which the tibiotarsal is formed, and in tibio-metatarsal, hind limb tarsal, it is attached to the metatarsal called tarso-metatarsal. So it is known as the tarso-metatarsal, and it is tibio-metatarsal because it is formed between the tibia and tarsal, and it is formed between the tarsal and metatarsal. And the tarsal bone in the fowl is 0. So the tarsal bone is absent in the fowl, and the longest bone in the fowl is tibia tarsal. Yes. So then another one was tarsal. So it formed the hock joint, which has 5 small bones of the tarsals. These are look like this. This is tarsal bones. So these are the tarsal bone. This is the tarsal bone. This is hock, and this is the fibula row or oscularis or tuberculosis or conclanon tubercle. So it is also known as the point of hock. As you can see, if it's animal, leg looks like, limb looks like. So this part which is proximal, or which is this part, is known as the point of hock. So the tarsal is present in the 2 rows, frontal row and posterior row. In frontal row, it is present by the tibia tarsal and fibula row, whereas the posterior row is composed of 2 plus 3 fused, plus center plus 4th fused, and last one was first. So the tarsal cattle have 6 tarsals, and in dog and pig 7 tarsal, and fowl have no tarsal, as I said earlier. And now the anterior part of the fibula tarsal is longer and larger, and it is called as oscularis and clavicular tubercle, and it forms the point of hock. Now the metatarsal comes. Metatarsal are divided also into the 2 parts, the large metatarsal and one small metatarsal. Large metatarsal is composed of 3 and 4, where the small is composed of 1 and the second, and in horses the 1 large and 2 small are formed, in which it is formed the approximately third part, and it is formed by the 4th part. In the dog there are 4 metatarsals, where in the pig there are 4th. In male at the posterior limb, it is called the spur or calcan, and this is the limb of a fowl looks like, so it is known as the spur, and in fowl the metatarsal is 1 in number. In the now comes to the phalanges equal to the forelimb, as we studied earlier. You can see in the previous lecture, or so previous part. So there is the phalanges I have already teached. So it is equal to the forelimb, except fowl have digits 4 and phalanges have 14 phalanges, and sesamoid is normally absent. So this part is completed. This is the all over balance sheet of the bones in an animal system. Skull have 32 bones, as we know in the animals. Let me start from here. As we know, the animals have 208 bones. Okay, so now we calculate how these bones are combined and how much bones are present in the how much organelle. So skull are 32 bones, in which the cranial contain 11, facial 19, mandible are 1, hyoid are 1, and these total combinedly form 32 bones. Second one was vertebral column. Let's we first study about the axial skeleton. So it includes into the axial skeleton, and this include into the appendicular skeleton. So in axial skeleton, these 32 bones are formed in the skull region. In vertebral column, cervical are 7, thoracic are 13, lumbar are in 6, sacrum are 5, and the coccygeal are 20. So total 51 bones are formed, and the ribs are 26, and on sternum are 1 in number. So these bones are formed. And now we come to the appendicular system. In the appendicular system, the forelimbs and the hind limbs are included. In forelimb, the scapula is 1 in number, humerus is 1, radius and ulnar are 2 in number, carpal are 6, metacarpal are 2, phalanges are 6, and sesamoids bones are 6. So 24 into 2 equals to 48. And the total 48 bones are present in forelimb. Let's we study about the hind limb. The hip bone are 1, femur, patella is 1 in number, tibia and fibula are 2 in number, tarsal is 5 in number, metatarsal is 2 number, phalanges are 6, and sesamoid bones are 6. Sesamoid bones in the hind limbs are absent in the fowl as we studied earlier. So now the total comes, the 48 bones are present in the forelimb and 48 bones are also present in the hind limb. So when we total it out, the 32 bones are of the skull, 51 bones are of the vertebral column, 26 are ribs, 1 are sternum. These are the forelimb, hind limb. So total 206 bones are present, and 2 bones are of for os cardis. We calculate these bones for the cattle. So it is vary according to the bones. So the 2 os cardis bones are present, and the total comes to the 208 bones. In cattle, these are total 200 bone as we calculated, but it is varies differently. So in horse it is 200 in number, and dog 291 in number, and pig 274 in number, and fowl 169 in number, and fowl skull have 40 bones. So therefore it is comes into 169 in number. So the largest number of bones have dog, and the lowest number of the bones have fowl. So now we completed the whole skeleton system and etc. So thank you. Bye.